So in this fight, I already knew I was encountering a Stiletto and a Proteus, and you always have to assume they always got friends around. Most people don't fly a T3 solo. So in this instance, what I want to do is get the Proteus out away from the gate, because I know I can solo him by myself, but you need to get him out of the gate because they have just so much tank and buffer that he can easily just burn back to gate and just de-aggress. So I wanted to get him out of the gate. So I just warped to the sun, and I wanted to warp to a planet because the sun is way too obvious to take a fight in there. But I got tackle even before I managed to warp. So here's what you need to do when you get tackle, because the first thing to do is not to get any panic, because that's the thing that kills you in solo PvP. Get panic. So I just put tackle on the Stiletto and make sure the first volley hits, and I also lock the Proteus. The Proteus is not getting so close right away, so that tells me that he's probably waiting for help, which kind of worries me at the same time. And another thing I did here was put pressure also on the Stiletto. If you notice, I have ECM drones, but I decided not to launch them yet. I wanted to either blab the Stiletto off grid or try to burn away, which it will be very difficult to do. But sometimes you can pull it off because the pilots are not that great most of the time. So in here I load up Barrage and make sure to kill the Stiletto once he got back into range. By this time, when I killed the Stiletto, I noticed that I had burned way too much away from the Proteus, which is a mistake because I wanted to tackle him afterwards. But he manages to warp away, and the next thing I do is go ahead and pursue him. Two things to know here. The Proteus probably has a Sino, a Cloak, or a probe launcher in there. So most of the time they're not gonna have a lot of DPS, but they still can make a good punch. So I warp to the gate and hoping he still has some of the aggress timer on so I can catch him, because I do not want him to get away. I know a Proteus is a T3 and it's a very hard target to kill, but the Hurricane is faster than the Proteus and it has more projected damage, assuming the Proteus is blaster fit. So here I saw the Proteus, he was jumping. So here in this position it will be very hard to kill him because we're fighting on a gate. I don't think he would have followed if I would have warped away. So I went away and tackled him right away and start getting range. But two things: the Proteus has a range to scram, so he got me scram right away, but the Hurricane has several things that it can save him. So in here I launch my ECM drones right away. I'm also putting cap pressure on him. The main thing trying to burn away. If you notice, I overhit my micro because if I get a jam, I want to be able to hit that micro and get as much range as I can from the Proteus. Because two things can happen: I either get a jam from my ECM drones or I cap him out, because Proteus are very cap intensive. Especially I see that he's putting some damage on me, and the amount of damage that he's putting on me tells me that he's not a solo PvP fit. He must have a Sino or a Cloak on, because his DPS is not very high. He should have killed me by this time, I think. So as you can see, he got capped out once, so I managed to get a cycle, and this time he got jam exactly. So I managed to burn away from the Proteus, and this time, and here's my the other mistake I made, and this will help you in case you burn out your guns. Let's say you burn out your guns, doesn't mean the fight is over. You can still go ahead and try to use the guns that you still haven't burned all the way. Because if you notice, I just noticed that I burned my guns. the Proteus still has a lot of armor left, but I know that if he's alone and he keeps trying to aggress and burning off gate, I can still kill him, even though he's very close to the gate still. But what I do is separate my guns, and I notice that only one gun has burned off, so I have like 80-90% left on my still DPS. So I keep applying DPS to the Proteus, trying to burn him down, even though at this time I see him that he's burning back to gate, which is a shame because would have been nice to have a Proteus kill. But you can see the strength of the Hurricane, even though it was nerf in the earlier expansions. I still think that it's a very solid ship, especially if you know what you're doing. Again, I'm not proclaiming that I'm the best PvPer in the world. I'm just a decent PvPer that got the idea to start posting videos on YouTube and trying to show the mistakes I make and trying to better myself at the same time. So I'm sure he's just de-aggressing now, waiting to jump. So the Proteus jumped out of the system and came back. So that tells me the Proteus has help coming, and that's why he wants to keep me interested. So I decided just to play with him because it's only a Hurricane, and if I lose it, it doesn't matter to me. One thing that it's very important when you go solo PvP, that's my advice. I mean, always consider that ship dead, because you don't want to go into a PvP fight, especially if you're fighting a 4 versus 1, a 3 versus 1, when the odds against you are pretty high. You don't want to fight with fear that, oh, you don't want to lose the ship. You always want to commit the ship and not fight afraid. So in here I knew once he tackled me, Loco got spiked by 3. So what I do is align towards the sun and put my ECN drums on hand and keep neuting him out. And it's when you're trying to get away, even the fear tackle, it's very important that you stay aligned, because it could be 1 or 2 seconds where they drop point and you're able to warp off. But if you're not aligned, you're missing that opportunity. So it's always very important to stay aligned. Picking the choice is a very bad option, but I had that habit and I cannot get that habit away from me. I always end up picking the sun to align, which is a very bad option. A better option could be the planet or something else. And again, I wanted to show you guys this fight. It's not an amazing fight, but it shows what the Hurricane can do, especially against blaster boats, laser boats, and other ships like that are slower than him. So this fight happened a few minutes later. I was heading back to my wormhole, because I live in wormhole space and I use wormhole space as a gateway to almost every part in Eve at any time of the day. So in this fight, I don't win. This is where I lose my ship, but I wanted to show it because I made a few mistakes that I think are really valuable. First, I get tackled by the stealth bomber, and the stealth bomber doesn't worry me too much. Yes, they do a lot of DPS, but they're very fragile, so you can kill them very easily. So in here, I actually released my drones because there were a few people. There was one more people in local, and I didn't know what was he with him, or what kind of ship he had in system. So I go ahead and put my ACN drums trying to get out, and as you can see, I only have I have a few guns burned out, and I'm trying to do my best trying to kill him before he gets help or he actually able to kill me. But I don't think so, because he goes away there. And here's where my mistake was. I stayed for the fight because I wanted to kill his bot. So then we see +1 in local, and it was a Slipner. And here's my mistake. Instead of, I was already aligned to my algae, and instead of warping to my algae, I got a little bit disoriented and tried to warp to the planet. And when you make that mistake, you lose precious seconds, and that was the mistake. That's how I got tackled by the slip there. And in here is pretty much and fight over. Even if I try to burn away, he's faster than me. He has more tank than I do. He has more DPS than I do. He also has a newt, same as me. So the only hope here is trying to get a jam from my easier drums, which never happens. So it's pretty much fight over. And I know this is not the greatest video ever. I didn't get the best fights that I could, but it shows that the Hurricane is still a viable shit for solo PvP, especially in 0-0. But you also have to always be aware that people that PvP in 0-0 are not always alone. They always have friends to support them. So you have to be very aware of that, and trying to get at it when you take a fight, knowing, okay, I find this Proteus, he probably has friends. So always go into a fight knowing that they have 2 or 3 friends behind them, and how you can take advantage of this. Sometimes you can take advantage of this, because when people have backup behind, sometimes they lack of how can I say it? They don't pilot it. They don't pilot their ships as well as they could, especially tackle. And that's why I managed to kill 2 tackles, and I actually pretty much destroyed the same amount that my Hurricane was worth. So I think it was a pretty good fight. I hope you guys liked the video. Subscribe for more videos. I'm posting more videos. I don't have a lot of playtime, but every time I get a fight, I'll try to record it and comment on either the mistakes I make or good things that happen in the fight. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.